The first chapter of a book is arguably one of the most important parts of your entire story. It's the moment when readers decide whether to dive headfirst into your world or place the book back on the shelf. A killer first chapter doesn't just introduce your story, it captivates, intrigues, and compels readers to keep turning the pages. But how do you achieve this? Let's break it down step by step. 1. Understand the purpose of the first chapter. Before crafting your first chapter, it's crucial to understand what it needs to accomplish. Introduce the protagonist. Readers need to meet the main character or someone central to the story. This introduction should give a hint of their personality, desires, and conflicts. Establish the setting. Provide just enough details to ground the reader in your story's world without overwhelming them with information. Hint at the central conflict. Even if the main conflict hasn't started yet, the first chapter should give readers a sense of what's at stake or the kind of journey they're about to embark on. Hook the reader. This is your moment to grab attention. A powerful first line, a dramatic opening event, or an intriguing question can work wonders.
Hi and welcome in our channel Aliving. If you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe for our future videos, and thank you very much in advance.
2. Start with a bang. Crafting a memorable opening line. The first line of your book can set the tone for the entire story. Consider these strategies for crafting an unforgettable opener. Create intrigue, pose a question, or suggest a mystery. For example, "The day I died started like any other." Shock the reader. Open with a surprising or dramatic event. "The explosion shattered the morning calm." Use vivid imagery. Paint a picture that immediately draws readers into your world. "The sky burned with shades of crimson and gold as the first dragon took flight." Introduce the character's voice. A strong narrative voice can instantly hook readers. "I've always been terrible at keeping secrets, but this one might just kill me." 3. Introduce a compelling protagonist. Readers connect with characters, not just plots. Your protagonist doesn't have to be fully fleshed out in the first chapter, but they should be compelling enough to make readers want to know more. Here's how. Show their goals and desires. What does your protagonist want? Whether it's something small, like winning a game, or monumental, like saving the world, giving them a clear goal makes them relatable. Reveal a flaw or struggle. Perfect characters are boring. Show a vulnerability or conflict that makes them human. Highlight their uniqueness. Why is this character worth following? Maybe it's their witty humor, unshakable determination, or mysterious backstory. For example, in The Hunger Games, Suzanne Collins introduces Katniss Everdeen as a resilient survivor who sacrifices for her family, a trait that immediately earns the reader's empathy. 4. Jump into the action. Avoid long, drawn-out exposition in your first chapter. Instead, drop readers into the middle of a scene that's engaging and relevant to the story. Show, don't tell. Instead of telling readers about your protagonist's world or history, let them experience it through action and dialogue. Start close to the inciting incident. While the main conflict might not begin immediately, the first chapter should lead toward it. For example, if your story is about a rebellion, the first chapter might show the oppressive regime in action. Create stakes. Even if the stakes are small at first, there should be tension or a sense of urgency driving the scene. 5. Set the tone and genre. Your first chapter should give readers a clear sense of what kind of book they're reading. The tone, style, and pacing should align with the story you're telling. For thrillers, start with a tense or suspenseful moment that foreshadows the danger ahead. For romance, introduce the main character in a way that highlights their emotional world, or set up a chance meeting with the potential love interest. For fantasy, immerse readers in a vivid, otherworldly setting while hinting at the magical elements to come. For literary fiction, focus on strong prose and character introspection to draw readers into the emotional depths of the story. 6. Raise questions, but don't overwhelm. A great first chapter teases just enough information to make readers curious, but not so much that they feel lost. Introduce mysteries. What is the protagonist running from? Why is the villain after them? Hint at questions that will keep readers intrigued. Avoid info dumps. Resist the urge to explain every detail of your world or character's backstory up front. Trust that readers will piece things together as they go. Balance clarity with intrigue. Make sure readers understand the basics: who, what, where, while leaving room for discovery. For example, in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, J.K. Rowling opens with the Dursleys and their strange encounter with Professor McGonagall and Dumbledore. This scene raises questions about Harry's parents and his connection to the magical world, pulling readers in. 7. Establish the setting without overloading. The first chapter should ground readers in your story's world without overwhelming them with unnecessary details. Use sensory details. Help readers visualize the setting through descriptions of sights, sounds, smells, and textures. Weave world building into the action. Instead of pausing the narrative to explain the setting, integrate details naturally. For example, a character might complain about the heat of the desert as they trudge through the sand. Focus on what's relevant. Only include details that enhance the mood or are important to the story. 8. Create a mini arc. A great first chapter often works as a story in itself, with its own beginning, middle, and end. Set up a goal or conflict. Give your protagonist something to accomplish or struggle within the first chapter. Build tension, introduce obstacles or complications that create stakes and keep readers invested. End with a hook. Leave readers with a cliffhanger, a surprising twist, or an unanswered question that compels them to keep reading. For example, in The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, the first chapter introduces Rachel, her daily train ride, and her obsession with a couple she watches. The chapter ends with a sense of unease and curiosity about Rachel's role in the unfolding drama. 9. Polish the writing to perfection. Your first chapter is your story's handshake with the reader. It needs to be strong, confident, and memorable. Polishing your writing is an essential step to ensure that the first impression is flawless. It's not just about making it error-free, it's about making every sentence sing and every word earn its place. Here's how you can take your first chapter to the next level. A. Eliminate unnecessary details. Think of your first chapter as a tightly packed suitcase. Only the most important items should be included. Unnecessary details can weigh down your narrative, dilute its impact, and risk losing the reader's attention. Ask yourself, does this detail serve the story at this moment? Is it critical to understanding the character, setting, or conflict? Could this information be introduced later in the narrative? Be ruthless in cutting out anything that doesn't engage the reader or move the story forward. For example, instead of a lengthy backstory dump about your protagonist's childhood, hint at their past through dialogue, actions, or subtle details. B. Focus on pacing. Pacing is the rhythm of your narrative. It determines whether readers race through the pages or get bogged down. Your first chapter should be brisk enough to maintain interest while leaving room for key moments to breathe. Use short, punchy sentences for action or tension. These can create a sense of urgency or highlight critical moments. Example: he ran. The sound of footsteps echoed behind him. Closer, faster. Balance longer, descriptive sentences for immersion. Use these to slow down and let readers absorb the world or connect with your characters. Example: the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the crumbling ruins that whispered of forgotten centuries. Experiment with varying sentence lengths to create a dynamic rhythm. A fast-paced opening scene might require brevity and quick transitions, while an emotional or reflective moment may need slower, deliberate pacing. C. Perfect the prose. Your writing style is your voice, and your first chapter is where it begins to resonate with readers. Here are a few tips. Choose precise, evocative words. Avoid generic descriptions in favor of vivid, specific language. Instead of saying, "She felt scared," show her trembling hands or the way her voice cracks. Avoid cliches. Find fresh ways to describe common emotions, actions, or settings to make your writing stand out. Read it aloud. This helps identify awkward phrasing, repetitive words, or sentences that don't flow naturally. D. Check for typos, grammar mistakes, and consistency. Nothing disrupts the reader's immersion more than errors in the text. Proofreading your first chapter is essential to ensure it's polished and professional. Use spell check and grammar tools, but don't rely on them entirely. Automated tools can miss context-specific issues or stylistic nuances. Get a second pair of eyes. A critique partner or editor can spot errors or awkward phrasing you may have overlooked. Watch for continuity errors. Ensure that character names, settings, and descriptions remain consistent. If your protagonist's eyes are green in the first paragraph, they shouldn't suddenly be brown by the end of the chapter. E. Refine and repeat. Polishing is rarely a one-time effort. After revising, set the chapter aside for a day or two, then return with fresh eyes. You'll be surprised at what you notice after taking a break. Keep refining until every sentence feels sharp, purposeful, and engaging. A well-polished first chapter isn't just a requirement, it's a gift to your readers. It shows respect for their time and ensures they'll be excited to continue the journey you've created. By dedicating the effort to polishing your writing, you're setting the stage for a story that readers won't be able to put down. 10. Test your first chapter. Before finalizing your first chapter, get feedback from trusted beta readers or critique partners. Ask them, were you hooked? Did the chapter make them want to keep reading? Were you confused? Were there any parts where they felt lost or overwhelmed? Did you connect with the protagonist? Were they invested in the character's journey? 11. Examples of killer first chapters. Studying successful first chapters can provide inspiration for your own writing. Here are a few examples to consider. 1984 by George Orwell. The opening scene establishes a bleak, oppressive setting and introduces Winston Smith's quiet rebellion. The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. Holden Caulfield's unique voice and perspective immediately grab attention. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. The first chapter alternates between Nick's perspective and Amy's diary, setting up the central mystery of the story. 12. Common pitfalls to avoid. Starting too slowly. Avoid opening with pages of backstory, exposition, or mundane activities. Overloading with characters, Introducing too many characters at once can confuse readers' focus on one or two key players. Being too vague, while you want to create intrigue, don't be so cryptic that readers can't follow what's happening. Final thoughts. Writing a killer first chapter takes time, patience, and a willingness to revise. Remember, this chapter is your chance to make a lasting first impression, so put in the effort to make it shine. Whether you're writing a high-stakes thriller, a sweeping romance, or an epic fantasy, these strategies will help you craft a first chapter that hooks readers and keeps them coming back for more. So, grab your pen, start brainstorming, and get ready to write a first chapter that readers won't be able to put down. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and see you all in the next video.